What's up, peoples? This is Jose Marquez along with my co-host Chico from the Cause and Effect crew, and we want to thank you for joining us for another Sunday BYOB podcast, where we have real conversations with real guests about real life issues. Our goals are always to stimulate the body, soul, and spirit with thought-provoking conversations, jokes, and some drama. Just like some like to bring their own bottles to parties, we ask that you bring your own Bible, perspectives, curiosity, and insight about life, today's issues, and that together we discover a better way to deal with life. I hope you're curious, because if you are, let's go. 2020 has been a doozy.
It's been a wild one, man.
It's been insane.
And it's still not done yet. Like, for those listening, you might be listening to it in 2021, or you might be in 2020 still with us, and you understand what we're talking about.
There's been a whole lot of ups and downs, mostly downs, depending on the perspective you take of it, right? One of the things that I've heard about 2020 a lot, when people speak about this year or kind of give a term to this year, one of the things that I've heard a lot is what a waste. What a waste. And as we end this year, I think it's important to, and again, even if you're in 2021, I think it's important to not take that stance, right? Because a lot of things happened in 2021, and I do feel that our perspective will determine if it was a waste or not. If it was a waste or not. Because if we don't learn the lessons that 2020 came to give us, then it was a waste.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, the perspective will change with what you do after.
Yes.
And if you're the person, right, that paused during 2020, but then you resumed from that pause, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know when you were watching a video and you just pause it and you go do what you're going to do and then you come back and press play and then everything's back? I think that disruption that you have at that moment where things pause on the outside, your inside, your inner world is still working.
Yes.
It's still on go. And your job would be, it's like you're in a time capsule and you're just like trying to figure out what's going to be your 2021 like.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you doing preparing wise for that? Like, how are you preparing for that? Because they're going to say, oh, it's a waste, right? It was a waste. I'm not going to go to the gym anymore. I'm going to resume the gym in January. I'm going to resume my savings and after January.
I'll diet again.
Everything starts again in January. I was talking to Nicole, and she was like, oh, I have, people that want to start training with me, and they're waiting until January. I'm like, oh, that's already starting off with that mindset that this whole year is full of bad, so I'm not going to bring that with me. So let me just wait to do anything that I actually want to do till January.
Mm-hmm.
When all that is just in your mind,
so
2021 is still going to be the same people that you have in 2020. God forbid you lost somebody, right? But outside of that, you're going to have the same people in your life. You're going to still be you. You're going to still be you.
Yes.
Most importantly, you're still yourself.
Yes.
So, what are you doing to prepare yourself for 2021, man?
And I love that you say that, because that's the X factor that everybody's forgetting, that yes, it's a new year. The calendar page turns.
And we started like that, remember?
Yeah.
The podcast Sunday BYOB started with us talking about a new year.
Yes. And it was funny. It was 2020.
2020. No, 2019.
Yes.
It was that number 9. We talked about how strong and how powerful
and
numbers represent certain things. So, to continue what you're saying, that's another thing to look at, full circle moment. We started off talking about how big 2020 was going to be.
Yes.
In 2019.
Yes.
Because we just knew, like, we knew things were going to be crazy. We didn't think it was going to be in a negative way.
Yes.
We just knew that 2020 was gonna bring something huge.
See, and even when you say, we didn't know in a negative way, right? Like, I just feel because it wasn't what we expected it to be, we immediately label it as negative, right? But I think that 2020 helped us develop creativity. It helped us develop perseverance. It helped filter out false relationships, phony relationships, and showed us who was real. Right, like I remember, Rick and the family hitting me up, and we had like a house party. Right, that was before Zoom. House party was the one everyone was trying.
Yeah.
So we did a whole like a house party on house party, and we had music, right? We had some finger foods. We had a few drinks, and we was just together spending time through the screen. So we found creative ways to stay connected. Right. 2020 for me, I mean, a lot of good things happened, right? A lot of good things happened. But I want to get into that further along. I want to talk about some of the things in 2020 because I started doing research today and I was like, man, like I could see why so many people would call it a waste or a wasted year. I mean, in 2020, we lost Kobe Bryant. We lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the judge. We lost Chadwick Boseman. We lost Alex Trebek. We lost Regis Philbin. We lost Sean Connery, John Lewis, Kelly Preston, Jerry Stiller, Kenny Rogers. These are just people that died from random events throughout the year. Like that's crazy. That's like a lot of big names, right? That we just lost. COVID. The world lost 1.57 million people to date. New Jersey alone, 17,542 people due to COVID. Businesses, 163,735 businesses have closed due to COVID, according to Yelp. That's a lot of businesses. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of families being affected. Yeah. I work for the Board of Social Services. So we see the numbers and the people coming through our doors, not through our doors because everything is online and
through your phones
and through the phone. But we see all the people that are reaching out for help now. So we see that life has been altered. But an altered life doesn't have to be an insignificant life. And bankruptcy, stores closing. We got Brooks Brothers, Century 21, GNC, Guitar Center, JCPenney, Lord & Taylor, 24-Hour Fitness, Victoria's Secret. Like, Victoria's Secret can't be gone, man. I just got married. Like, what's going on? Walgreens, Models. I found an interesting thing, Chico, that blew me away. There was a 57% increase in divorces in April of 2020. Divorce is already high. Like divorces at an all-time high. But they say that there was an increase in April once COVID was already in the heat of it, in the thick of it, that now couples were forced to be together. There was an increase in divorces. Right? So when we talk about a wasted year, when we talk about things that people could kind of latch on to see it that way, I could see why. Like, I could see why you guys see 2020 as a wasted year. I could see that. But for everyone that takes that perspective, I can throw a twist on it and say it doesn't have to be that way. Or as you head into 2020, when I was sharing with Chico before we started today, that we can look at our lives as a business, right? My life is my business. This is what I sell to the world. This is what I project to the world. This is who I am. If I don't, any business that doesn't take an inventory of what's on their shelves will go bankrupt. If you don't know what's left and you don't know what you can move forward with, you're going to go bankrupt. Mm-hmm. So what if our life, we begin to see it as a business and we begin to tell ourselves, okay, what's left? What's left after 2020, after devastation? Our condolences to all those that have lost loved ones. Our condolences to all those that had loved ones walk out because they just couldn't deal with the whole COVID pandemic. or bankruptcy, or not having a job, or not being able to get unemployment, or still waiting for unemployment. There's just so much negativity that did occur in 2020. We're not going to be, we're not those kind of Christians
the super
that
optimists.
no, everything's just great and everything's awesome. No, like a lot of 2020 sucked.
Yeah.
And there's no other way to say it. However, I believe that God was still working in 2020.
And I believe that things got to get really bad before they get really good.
And sometimes you don't know what really good is unless you went through really bad.
And you don't know what's great going to look like until you don't have those things you thought were great or good. And for some of us, it might be some relationships that fell off. For some of us, we might be looking at vacations that we had planned as, wow, I'm not going to be able to flex on the gram. Right? Like the person that said, yo, this was going to be my year to fix my health and my physical, and I was going to go ham, and now I'm quarantined and I don't feel safe going out. I don't want to go to the gym and be around people. There's many ways you can look at it and say this year was just a year you put in the trash can and you start all over with 2021. But there's many years that have passed prior to 2020, and for many of us, our life wasn't too different. We weren't doing so much different things. We weren't trying to change, right? But now that we see that we're forced to change our habits and the way of life, we're seeing what it really is to get uncomfortable.
It's so true.
Because we were all comfortable in 2018, 2019 with how everything was running. Now that we have to look at people through Zoom, now that I have to wear a mask with my outfit and figure out if I can buy, a certain mask that make my outfit look good and not tacky with the blue, just the regular blue,
or the regular black.
Yeah, like there's so much, and those are, to some people, that's a huge
big
problem.
Deal, yes.
For some of us, we're just looking at like, okay, like we understand that it's temporarily, this is not permanent, and God willing, it's gonna be over soon.
Yes.
But there's so much more coming after this. This is just the disruption. What happens after disruption? What happens after chaos is picking up the pieces and rebuilding. And that's the hard part.
Yes.
This is where people have to be mentally ready to start rebuilding, whether it's their finances, their health, what they're going to do to make sure that they're not in the position that they don't want to be when something like this occurs again in their lifetime. Because this opened my eyes to just one week of no income can get you out of your house and like homeless or in a bad place.
And it just shows how unprepared we are. And that's why I say 2020 doesn't have to be all negative. Yes, negative things resulted, but it helped us to see things that we possibly didn't see before. When you talk about one paycheck affecting the rest of your life, there's no way people were prepared for that or thought about that until
thought
COVID
that their
came.
job would run out and say, hey, we don't need you anymore. We got computers.
Yeah, or that the business itself was just unneeded, right? And I think one of the things that COVID helped us to see is how we have become intoxicated with entertainment. That when entertainment was taken out, we didn't know what to do with ourselves. We just didn't know. The internet got slower because then people ran to the internet even more.
And now we ran out of shows. Like the highlight for me during the beginning of the pandemic was the Tiger King. And that was the talk of the town. Everybody's going crazy about the Tiger King. Once that was over, it was the next couple of things. And then it just started dying down. Now it's like, what else is there to watch?
Yes.
Hulu, Disney Plus. What are we watching? What are we doing to entertain our minds and distract us from the fact that we're supposed to be working on something? God, there's something that everybody has their own journey. So whatever God is trying to show me during this pandemic is going to be different to what he's showing Jose, to what he's showing anybody that's listening. But there's something there that you're supposed to be paying attention to.
It's
and
insane.
We're just trying to get distracted.
Like one of the things that helped me during this pandemic was the fact that I decided for the first time in my life that I was going to be more purposeful in attaining goals. So I had 20 goals that I set out for myself in January of 2020. And although the pandemic came, because I had already given my year a purpose, the pandemic didn't affect my purpose. I just had to find a different way to complete those purpose. So out of 12 goals that I had in January of 2020, I've been able to accomplish 11 of them. Even with the pandemic.
That's a good number right there.
Even that's your number. Even with a pandemic, right? Like for me, this was my 2020. Some doors closed, but those doors needed to close.
Absolutely.
2020 made that happen.
It's like what you're pointing out about those businesses closing, right? It made you realize that this was supposed to happen. Like if we look at the digital realm of things, physical stores were on their way to being obsolete. Not saying that every single store out there is going to close, but a lot of businesses are being run out. And this is not the pandemic. The pandemic sped up the process, but you got Amazon and all these other, companies that are making all these other small retail stores shut down their doors because people are finding it easier to order online and get it shipped to their house. And now because we have to do it this way, it just sped up the process of these people not getting foot traction into their stores and not, being able to continue with their business. But that shows you that where we're heading 2021, it's more of a digital era. Yes. It's more of online transactions. There's companies that realize that, hey, I can run my business from everybody's houses and I don't have to pay a rent for a building anymore. So maybe I'll just get a bit office spaces that people rent. That there's office spaces you can rent for.
And they run a whole business from a room.
Yep. and there's people that be like, well, I only have those office space rented when I need people to come into the office. But other than that, appointments, other than that, you go from home and you get on the phone with whoever you need to get to.
That's crazy.
And that's where we're moving with, even like we talked about, that episode where I said, the church is going to change. The way people receive the gospel is going to change.
It was insane. And that was a few months before COVID hit. Yep. So it's like just having our eyes open to what we see and we know is inevitable. But it's like there's way too many of us that we stick our hand in the sand and expect that when we pull it back out, the world is going to be exactly how it was when we put our head in there. But it's not like that, right? And 2020 forced us to admit that, right? But again, with me for 2020, again, some doors closed that needed to close. My wife almost died right now, but I love you, babe. I got engaged in 2020. I got married in 2020. I not only kept my job, but in a lot of ways, like my job kind of got better, right? My wife got a promotion in 2020. Hey. In the midst of a pandemic, she got a promotion. I rose my credit score by about 70 points. I eliminated debt. I didn't get into new debt. I developed new, healthier relationships. This is all 2020. The Gathering, which is a group that we have meeting on Wednesdays, we've seen people be transformed through a screen. Meeting every single Wednesday. BYOB, we developed a whole new format on YouTube in 2020. We didn't lose, thankfully, we didn't lose anyone to COVID. So again, although there was all these negative things that occurred in 2020, because there was a purpose to our year, because we had purposes and a plan, we didn't get lost in the craziness. Did we get frustrated? Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Did we get angry? Yes.
Because then the part where you get frustrated is where you feel limited, where you feel like everything's out of your control. And to a certain point, you have control. But when it gets to that point where you can't interact with people the way you want to. You can't see somebody and physically be able to have a conversation with them. You gotta, distance yourself from family that you want to see because hug. You want them to be healthy. You're scared of them. Yeah, I'm good. Stay 6 feet apart. Thank you. But for me, one of my things were, how can I learn from this? And for me, some of it was positive in a sense of savings and being able to do stuff financially. And I did hit a point where I said, you know what, I'm gonna drain certain things in my account because I need to do certain things for the podcast or for personal investments and stuff like that. And I was comfortable doing that because I know now what I learned during this pandemic is that I can save a certain amount of money during a pandemic or not, because I understood where my money was going. I knew what I was doing, and I was like, okay, I understand now. So now, like you said, I gave my money purpose. That's one thing, giving my money purpose. All right, this is why this is gonna go here, 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 and this is gonna stay here. The rest, applies the same with my health, with, certain things. I let go of the gym for a little bit, and now I'm back. So there's another thing where people feel like when they fall off, they have to fall off completely and then have to come back. You might fall off tomorrow, but tomorrow, the same day you fell off, you can pick back up where you left off. It's okay.
There's always a way to do that. You know what I mean? Number one, like you could decide, I might, a week or two might just be a little bit harder for me to do the things that I want to do to accomplish my goals. But that doesn't mean I have to go cold turkey and just quit.
Yeah.
Right. And just fall out.
That's like when somebody says you got one tire you got one bad tire. What you going to do? Are you going to fix it, or are you going to just flat all the 3 tires on your car?
Exactly.
No, you're going to fix that one tire. So if something went wrong, you got to go and figure out what you can do to fix that situation. So for a lot of us, our mind went into, what can I do during this pandemic to benefit from it? For some people, they were just complaining the entire time. I can't do this. Can't wait for this to happen. Can't wait till this opens up. And you saw more and more of that online. I don't know about you, but on my Instagram, it was more, I can't wait till the things get back to normal, because of that. And I'm just like, bro, this is an opportunity.
And you shared
itself.
something. You shared something a little while ago where you said companies are running their businesses different. Churches are running different. Yeah. All these things are different. In other words, they're waiting to get back to normal. A normal that you guys complained about, by the way. A normal that you wanted to change. A normal that you rebuked. A normal that you didn't want. A normal that you were fighting about.
So fast.
That's the normal that you're saying you want to get back to. But check this. You're waiting to get back to a normal that no longer exists. It no longer exists. And I think that's key, because whether this airs in a few weeks right before 2021 or it airs in 2021, we need to understand that we're living in a whole new world. It's a whole new world.
When you said that, I thought about that Disney movie. What was that? What is it? Oh, Jasmine and Aladdin, right?
but like it's a whole new world. Now I'm singing it.
I don't want to do it because I don't have, the voice. But in my head, it's going crazy in my head right now.
But everything changed, and like when the gyms were closed, everybody was like, "Oh, that's it. COVID-19, everybody gained like 19 pounds." But during that period of time, Anna and I, thank God, she had the Shaun T, the Insanity program thing.
Yep.
So we were doing that, and I lost weight during COVID-19. I'm regaining it now because now we're going back to the gym. So it's like, different weight.
Yeah.
But we figured a way around it.
It's all about just like you said, perspective changing and saying, well, this is an opportunity for me to be able to isolate myself from the people that I was already trying to distance myself from. Now I have a reason to do so. For the people that wanted to be around a new circle, the people that were tired of being in toxic relationships. This is an opportunity for you to say, well, let me get my space. Let me get into me. Let me see what's wrong with me internally. Where is my mental health at, right? So many people dealing with mental health issues during this pandemic, even more. And it probably drove some people to do more things on the negative side versus, hey, maybe I'll pick up this book and learn about myself a little bit. Maybe I'll go and start researching where I can talk to somebody, seek therapy, whatever it is, certain tools that are for personal development. People are avoiding that and just drowning themselves in entertainment, Instagram, movies, and look, I'm not perfect. I do those things.
Yes.
You know, there's times where I don't want to work on myself, and there's days that I just don't. I just want to be like, you know what? I'm gonna be very toxic right now, and I'm gonna just not do shit. And sorry for the word, but I won't do shit today, and I won't do anything towards my goals. And tomorrow I might feel guilty, but I understand that I'm human too, and I understand I have emotions like everyone else, and I have these emotions where I don't want to do something, or I'm just in a bad mood, or I need some time to recharge.
Yes.
But again, I won't throw away the whole year because of it.
It's crazy. People were complaining about not having time to rest. COVID hit.
Now they got too much rest.
Some people got unemployment. They were getting paid more with unemployment than they were getting paid at their regular job because of the extra 600, because of the extra stimulus package and all this stuff. But they still found a way to complain. You were complaining about resting. You're home without a job. You could have been resting, right? So what the premise that I'm trying to bring about is that maybe 2020 has sucked, but what if it sucked because our perspective is jacked up? What if it has sucked because instead of focusing on what God was doing, we were too wrapped up in the media. We were too wrapped up in the news. We were too wrapped up in what they were doing and in what they were saying and what was going on in Guatemala and what was going on in Europe and what was going on in places you'll never probably see in your lifetime. So we lost out on everything God was trying to show us right here and right now. Right? Like I learned a lot about myself during this COVID. Right? Like I really learned I don't need entertainment. Like, I don't need it. Like, what I do need, like, if I didn't have my books, I'd be in trouble. If I didn't have my wife, I'd be in trouble. If I didn't have my family, I'd be in trouble. But beyond that, like, I'm good. I could make it in this world. And what I want to encourage our audience is to understand that with God, when you put your life in God's perspective, you try to see 2020 through God's lens, you'll realize that nothing was wasted. Right? That there was a scripture that I wanted to share in John chapter 6. It's one of the 4 gospels, different men that shared different perspectives of the Jesus story. Right? There was a time that he was teaching a whole group of people and they got hungry. There was a need that arose that couldn't be fed naturally. And 2 pieces of bread and 5 fish weren't going to feed 5,000 people, right? So here comes Jesus, the miracle worker, the one that does the supernatural things that we need in life. And he prays and he breaks this bread and breaks the fish and is able to feed all of these people. But for me, that wasn't the greatest miracle. That wasn't the lesson that Jesus was trying to teach. Because after everybody ate, after everybody had their full, in verse 12 of chapter 6, he says this. He says, and when they had eaten their full, he told his disciples, gather up the leftover pieces so that nothing is wasted. So that nothing is wasted. Now, other translations of that same verse, it says, gather up the broken pieces so that nothing is wasted. Now, when we think about 2020, there's a whole lot of broken pieces. There's broken relationships. There's broken finances. There's broken health. There's broken friendships. There's broken businesses. There's broken dreams. There's a lot of broken stuff. But I feel that in 2020, what Jesus was trying to teach, what God was trying to teach this world is that even when your life is full of broken pieces, he says, bring them to me. Because when you bring them to me, they'll never be wasted. They won't be wasted. Why? Because I believe that God's plan is so much bigger than our plan. His view of our life is so much fuller and bigger than what we see. And if we get lost in what we see, we'll get lost. We'll be unseen. We'll get lost in it. But if we allow God to do what only God can do, if we allow him to show us what's really going on, right? Because I think a lot of times it's like a parade. And I've used this example in the past because I love it. When we see a parade, we only see from the peripheral of what's going on before us. We only see from here to there. But God's perspective is from the highest building, where he sees all the way at the beginning of that parade. He sees all the way at the end of that parade. So he knew your 2020, January 1st, 2020, he knew what that was going to be like. But he also knew what January 1st, 2021 was going to be like. The question is, are we going to see what he sees, or are we going to fall back into our bad habits and our bad negativity and our bad vibes and everything else that has allowed us, has made us stay stuck in our predicament? And it's like quicksand. The more you fight, the deeper you sink into it. Sometimes you just have to rest and allow someone else to pull you out. That's the only way out of quicksand. It's the only way out of the toxic thinking that we've had in 2020. That we've been saying, oh, what a waste. This year has been such a waste. What a waste. But God is saying, those things that you call a waste, bring them to me and nothing will be wasted.
And that's a fact.
Nothing will be wasted. And so what I did with my 2020 is I brought all these negative things that were going on, all these, all this disaster and all this stuff. And again, not to say that I was never not, affected. Like, it's frustrating to put that mask on. Bro. It's frustrating to leave the car, go all the way to the store, and then you're at the store and you realize that you left the mask in the car. Now you got to turn all the way back to get the mask to go all the way back in.
It's frustrating for those that wear glasses.
And then it gets fogged up. Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst.
It falls off your face. Like, you can name it. From small to big things, there's many of it that's just... why, right? You're just like, why? But again, in those little things and those big things, there are lessons. It's not a waste. Nothing. It's not a waste. And if you look at it as a waste, is because you literally feel like you can get zero from it. It's like, toxic waste, there is just harmful. It's not, you can't do nothing with it. It doesn't benefit anything or anyone. That's not what I feel 2020 has done for me, right? From losing celebrities that we admire, right, to people that we know. I've lost, friends during this pandemic outside of COVID, but still relevant to the fact that they're not here with us right now. And in those moments, I had to pull myself out of thinking, who's next? Like, is it somebody I know? Is it somebody close to me? Like, let me get away from that mindset. Let me think about, the good those people that are not with us today did in my life, the impact, the lessons, the type of person they were. I remember them with honor.
Yes.
And then I remember I have to live my life and be able to enjoy the moment I have here. Their time was up. God took them, and I pray that they're resting in His glory. But I'm still here. I still have things I need to accomplish. If I'm still here, it's because I have a purpose on this earth still that has to be met. So those thoughts, they do bother you. They get you down. They make you depressed. You're by yourself. Imagine you being in your room, quarantined for 3 months, all these things happening. You're losing people here, and you're just thinking, I can't leave this house right now.
And you're powerless,
right? Like, for me, I had COVID. I had to deal with, being scared of not waking up the next day, because for me, I had little breathing problems here and there. I had, these issues prior. So I don't know how COVID was going to affect my body. I was scared of it because I had pneumonia, and I know what it is to not be able to breathe, to the doctor to tell you, hey, you almost died, so getting hit with COVID, when they said it was positive, it felt like, did you see the Kevin Hart stand-up comedy? Like, it felt like that. It felt like, so what do I do? Like, it felt like I was just told I had HIV. That's what it felt like. I felt like, am I supposed to tell somebody? I had no clue what the next step was. I got so nervous. I was like, I'm on the phone, just literally going, because what do I say to that? Do I stay home now?
So good. It's so true.
And it felt like, what is this? But, fast forward, my point is that all those little moments, all those little things, all those big things, it still didn't allow me. Well, I didn't allow it to determine what was going to be the end result of all this, right? So I, like yourself, I had many great moments in 2020. So I can't look at it and say it was all bad. Mm-hmm. But I understand the perspective of those that feel that way. I'm just on the side of, what are you going to take from this experience and make 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25
epic,
just different. And not that those years won't come with its own trials and tribulations, because you won't have a pandemic in 2021, God willing, but you'll have some internal issues. You'll have some things happen in the world. There's things that are going to happen regardless, outside of our control, or, no matter what. But this is a preparation right now. This is preparation for you moving forward.
And I love how you say that, because just think about this, especially, for our audience. Think about this. How many people that could say they went through a pandemic and made it? See, when I talk about changing your perspective, when and focusing on the positive of this issue,
the stories for our grandkids.
Yeah, I made it through COVID-19.
Was real. Let me tell you something.
And that's a story, but it's a story of perseverance.
Absolutely.
Maybe you feel like you're crawling through 2020, but you're crawling. Maybe you feel like you're barely getting through 2020, but you're getting through 2020. Maybe you feel like you lost in 2020, but you didn't lose it all in 2020. Mm-hmm. And these are the things that we need to understand. And, Romans, one of my favorite verses, there's a book called Romans in the Bible in the New Testament. And the Apostle Paul says this: we are confident that God is able to orchestrate everything to work towards something good and beautiful when we love him and accept his invitation to live according to his plan. Bro, he works all things for the good, but you got to believe he's in control. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything that 2020 gave us the ability or the chance to do, was to understand how powerless we are.
Literally.
How not in control we really, really are.
Hands-free everything.
We thought we were in control of our finances until COVID came. You thought you was in control of your health until COVID came. You thought you was in control of relationships until COVID came. You thought you was in control of so much, and then COVID came and reminded you that, honestly, the Bible says we're just a vapor of wind that is here today and gone tomorrow. This is also a positive thing, although it's wrapped in negativity. We understood how fragile life is, how important it is to love the people that are around you.
That is a big
how important it is to understand that life isn't guaranteed to anyone. They're here today and might be gone tomorrow. I would look on Facebook and Instagram and I see, these heartbreaking stories of people that lost people. And what's unfortunate is we say we lost them, but when they were here and able to be found, we were lost. So 2020 is wrapped in all of these golden nuggets of wisdom and all these opportunities for us to learn. I really learned like God really gave me the person I was supposed to be with all along. Because like Anna, for me, she was like my go-to. Like, I was excited to come home. Like, I was excited of life, because of the fact that I had someone to share life with. There's some of you in the audience that 2020 is ending. You still don't want to be with the person you're with. So why you with them?
You're still trying to find that spark, that reason to stay.
Like you've wasted a whole year. So maybe nothing is wasted. That's the lesson that I'm trying to get. But for you, it's been wasted because you're giving the best of you into something that doesn't want you. Mm-hmm. And 2020 came to show you that that person wasn't for you.
I don't want to get off that point, but one thing that keeps just like popping into my head is I've seen, maybe these people are aware, but it made people get into the entrepreneur side, tap into that a lot. I hear people talking about home-based business. I saw people start their own businesses. And that was simple as selling food from their home, creating meals and selling them. There was people that were able to start projects. They bought machines with the money they were getting, and they started doing crafts and selling their art. There was so many people that found it in them to be resourceful with this situation and take on these tasks of creating their own type of hustle. And so I respect that, because it also taught people that your current situation, whether you hate your job or you hate the position you're in, you have the power to change that.
Yes.
Like, you have it in you to go and seek something else that's more fulfilling, or do something yourself that can fulfill you and the people around you with whatever gifts it is that you have in you. There's people that were able to discover their gifts that were so lost in this world. They're like, what is my purpose? What am I here for? I'm good at this and I like people, but I don't know what. And COVID, because of quarantine, because of being by yourself for a while, because of isolation, there were some people that were able to tap into that and just get curious and saw something online and said, let me try that, and found their purpose and found their gifts. So for those people that felt like, how we feel, that there was so much to gain during a time of loss, salute to you, because that is something that we should focus on as well. Yes. Praise the people that were able to take this time and dig into the things they were supposed to, because, as much as we feel like the negative has affected us, there's people out there that had given me hope. Yes. Even like, wow, you see how that person persevered during this pandemic? This person is making 6 figures during a pandemic. This person was able to flip homes or buy their own home during a pandemic. I
saw a lot of people fixing their homes during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Like investing into their home, because now they were home and they were able to fix things. It was crazy. And it
shows you, what, and this is another thing. This is what, it showed us that life, we had it like messed up. We had it the other way around. We were spending all our time trying to create this lifestyle, chasing this lifestyle. And there was some people that were able to take this time right now, right? Because of this pandemic, you weren't able to go to clubs like that and stuff like that. So now people were doing outdoor activities. They were trying to go out and hike. They were trying to go out
the park.
Enjoying what God already gave us, this nature that we have for free. Right? Like, you can go and take a walk in the park. Do you know how packed the parks were during lockdown?
Yes.
Because everybody just wanted to be around some type of normal, but at the same time, they were able to discover that all this stuff has been here.
Yes.
It's always been available to us, but we either don't make the time for it because we're too busy working. And then another realization was, for a lot of people, realize that they can get a lot done in 4 hours instead of 8.
Yes.
And there was some people working 4 hours and getting their job done and then being able to enjoy the rest of their day, and said, damn, life feels good to be able to do this. So imagine a new world where you work maybe some less hours, make the same amount of money or maybe even more, and be able to enjoy your life, the time that you have on this earth, the way you would like to.
That's so good.
How cool would that be? But we have to make that available to us.
And to take advantage of the moment.
Yes.
There's never going to be a moment like this, hopefully. There'll never be a moment like this in our lifetime.
It's a big shift. Like, there's so much things that are going to change through this, So you're right. This is a time where all these things are going to break apart, break down, and then rebuild. So during the rebuilding process is the time where we are able to say,
shine,
and say, you know what, I want my life to look like this now moving forward. And I want to do this moving forward. I want to spend time with family moving forward, and shift in those directions and careers and stuff that can give you that opportunity.
Man, one of my goals heading into 2020 was that I wanted to be speaking again at least once a week. I wanted that to be happening in my life again. In my head, it was, I'm going to be preaching in different churches like I used to preach. That never materialized, right? Because unfortunately, the Christian community, a lot of times, and maybe we'll have an episode on this in the future, like we have the greatest revelation of forgiveness, yet are the most unforgiving people on planet Earth. We have the greatest revelation of love, but yet are the most unloving people a lot of times on the face of the earth.
And I think people recognize that because we can see plenty of movies where that's depicted.
It's really bad. Like, we have to change that narrative, and I think the church will arise and face that head on one day, and we will be loving again. We will be non-judgmental again. We will give second opportunities again. But that didn't happen in my situation, right? Churches still aren't inviting me, that they're still giving me the back and blah blah blah, but I am speaking once a week. But why? Because of what you said. There was an avenue created that because of that pandemic. Now through Zoom, we had all of these people. We have someone joining us from Maryland via Zoom. We have different people from different places that are separating this 1 hour every single Wednesday to just share their stories, share God's story, and find out how those two stories mesh. And every single week, I'm speaking every single week.
And I want to ask you
every single week
about that, because isn't what there's something in the Bible, and correct me if I'm wrong, that states something within the lines, wherever you invite Jesus, God,
where two or three are gathered, God is
church,
there in
right?
the midst of them. Yes.
So you are, in other words, you're going to church in different people's houses, right? Like, you're bringing church to people to people's houses. So it's not like you're visiting different churches. You're visiting different houses at this point, digitally.
Yes.
And I think for some people, they won't understand how this is gonna be one of the most efficient ways for somebody to have an intimate moment and have a moment with God.
Amen.
Because I'm home sometimes, right? And I'll watch a YouTube video from Elevation Church, and he's in an empty church with just some people, and I feel like I'm there.
Yes.
I bring him into my home, which brings God into my home because I'm listening to the gospel.
Yes.
And it's the same exact thing that you're able to do. And you don't have to have, and it's even better. I think that is a better way to do so, because the traditional way is breaking. And it's molding into something else. And I don't think that people are going to look at, like I said it before, I said people aren't going to look at church physically. They're going to look at the person individually.
Yes.
At you. And they're going to say, I feel comfortable with this person interpreting what God is telling me in this book.
And by being faithful in little, right? The Bible says that when you're faithful in little, God puts you in a position to be faithful over much. Right? One of the things that also happened during this season, and this is kind of a testament to Chico, right? During this season, Chico grinded. The studio, the quality of the equipment got better. Mm-hmm. We started recording, quality better. He had to move, shift everything in the midst of a pandemic, and created what you guys are viewing right now, which is kind of dope. You know what I mean?
It's actually better now.
Like everything has just gotten better, even in spite of going through COVID, even in spite of the maybe relational challenges you went throughout the year, even in spite of changes and shifts that happened in your own life that we've shared in other episodes as well. Everything has gotten better. 2020 happened to all of us. All of us had to endure COVID.
Yeah.
All of us had to endure challenges. Some of them ended up better. Some of us ended up worse. Some of us are still in the same exact place. But all of us went through it. And all of us have a decision to make, right? Because even though the pandemic is slowly being lifted, praise God, I believe that it's going to happen soon. I believe that all of us can find the blessing or the silver lining in what 2020 needed to teach us if we simply step out of that negativity bubble. If we allow God to remove the cloud and show us what it is that we needed to learn about ourselves in 2020. It's clear. It's there. The lessons are there.
Absolutely. And don't forget, like, we went through a whole political
Oh my God.
craze. Like, it was like an episode. It was like a reality show gone completely crazy.
I had
with
people calling
politics.
me satanic
Bro.
just because I didn't vote for a particular candidate.
Let me tell you something. Like, the division that this tried, because I'm going to say tried because I'm not going to feed into the fact that we're divided.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that we're in a hypersensitive type of time as well, where people are hypersensitive to anything that you post and anything you say or what you like and don't like, which I think is completely absurd. That's a whole different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that it tried to divide us and it tested us in a crazy way where things could have gone completely
Out of control.
way more than what it did.
I thought anarchy
Even though
was going to happen.
I
was
thought a
waiting
civil
for
war
anarchy.
was happening. I was like, yo, for a fact, we're going to have to board up our houses because we're going to have to stop people from trying to break in our house. We're going to have to, I went and applied for a gun license. I was like, I got to prepare because I don't know what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just by seeing what was going on in the media from, political views from people we knew around us. And we're like, oh, I didn't see that side of you. Like, we were able to see people's true sides. Like, and I won't judge people on what their views are political because everybody's going to go to whatever is convenient to them. And that's something we got to understand. Even though I don't agree with it, I have to understand that you see where it can benefit you and your family. And I can't take that away from you because a person that's trying to protect their family is going to go to whatever they feel is going to help them. So I was the person that had to literally stand back and, like, let it go because I was getting so worked up in my mind by what people were posting. And I just like, yo, should I say something to this person? Should I say something? Because
it would get me mad.
This person is wilding right now. But what I had to understand was, hey, that's their social media platform. That's their beliefs. You got to just stand back and understand that does not apply to you. And the people around you, you can't look at that person any different because, you can look at them different, but don't hate the person for their beliefs. You might learn how to just distance yourself from that belief because if they're on the hate side of things, then you just don't want to. I just can't associate with people that have that view on like hating people for their skin color or anything like that. But if you're just a person that says I identify as a Republican, I can't hate you. I can't not talk to you and just be like you're dead to me. There was family members going through that where people in their family are saying you're dead to me because you're a Democrat or you're dead to me because you're a Republican. And there was families being torn apart because of this.
There was so much. 2020, man. Bro. 2020 was a year of revealing.
Oh my God.
Right? Because we talked
revealing
about that in January.
Is the word. Yes.
Vision. He was going to give us vision. And
No. He revealed.
But it wasn't. It was the year of revealing. We was revealed. Our hearts were revealed. Our persistence were revealed. Our trust in God was revealed.
Our weaknesses were revealed.
Our strengths were revealed. How you shared the positive spin of our creativity was revealed. And there's still some revealing going on. The year isn't over. I think there's still time for God to work in our lives. If this does air in 2021, there's time this year for God to reveal what went on in 2020 that you don't understand yet, that you don't see yet, because sometimes it takes us time to see what God has done. But I like this Chinese proverb that I read, and it says, to get through the hardest journey, and 2020 was a hard journey. It's been a hard journey. To get through the hardest journey, we need to take only one step at a time, but we must keep on stepping. We must keep on going. We must keep on grinding. We must keep on believing. We must keep on, expecting that the best is yet to come, expecting that our best days are still ahead. And 2020, I believe, has been a great year. Not only because, for me, 2020, again, I got married. I had a beautiful wedding.
Yeah.
God allowed us to have a great wedding.
Real dope.
We went to Mexico, had a great honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like almost unfair for me to talk about 2020 because I'm like, yo, 2020's been dope. But I think a lot of the dopeness of 2020 was because of the fact that there was still a plan. There was still a plan for us in 2020. And again, maybe 2020 you didn't start it off with a plan, but 2021 you can. 2021 could be your year, your best year ever. And 2020 doesn't have to have been your worst year ever. It's just a shift that needs to go on up here. Yeah. You know, and
I agree.
If there's one thing that our audience needs to understand is that you can thrive under this or through this, or you can collapse under this. We decide that. COVID doesn't decide that. The government doesn't decide that. Your political affiliation doesn't decide that. We decided. We decided by choosing to continue believing, choosing to continue walking, choosing to say, I've made it this far. I've made it. I made it. Right? We're about to, the year's almost over. We made it, peoples. We're still here. And God is saying nothing is going to be wasted. Believe that today. Nothing that has gone on will be wasted. He will turn it for your favor. And those are the words that I want to leave you in today's Sunday BYOB, that nothing is wasted. He's with you. There's still some lessons to learn. That's okay. We're students. We're students of life. Keep learning. Keep going. Whatever you do, don't stop. Let's go.